subscribe.
Hi guys and gals. Though it has taken a while to post again, I've been hunting down this potent story from this woman that claims to be a scientist for some black budget projects. I'm just going to give her the floor. Welcome to Cracking Questions.
Just so no one will be hunted down after disclosing this. This is just for entertainment purposes. I'm Olivia Burton, and I have a question for you. If I gave you a secret about Yellowstone, what could you do with it? Yellowstone is not just a volcano. Most people trust that the government can't keep secrets. I don't blame them, given the negative publicity, disinformation, and frankly, just take a look at Biden. They pour an undisclosed amount of money in keeping things hush-hush. Here's an example. You ever hear of an SR-71 Blackbird? Odds are most people haven't, but some of you who are diligent know much about it. I promise, you don't know the depths of what I've seen. Sorry, before I get into that, I'm Olivia, a fugitive of the USA's military tribunal. I've changed my name, voice, life, facial features, and more, to the point I am unrecognizable to my own parents. I went through all this just so I could share my findings with the public sector. I think the government is into some things even I can't fathom. I know there are brilliant people on Earth who haven't been picked up by black projects yet, and it's up to them to make do with the information I'm disclosing with you. For those of you who know what the SR-71 is and those of you who don't, I'll put it in a perspective no one has before. I've been a part of black projects for a long time, and I know the laws around them. The SR-71 Blackbird was a black budget, top secret, Mach 3, anti-detection aircraft made under Lockheed. Those of you in top secret fields know the rules. In 1964, the law was any classified information can be disclosed in 10 or 25 years, depending on how classified the information. Military hardware is normally at the forefront of top classified information, placing it in the 25-year window. At their prospective classified release windows, they are re-evaluated and designated to either be declassifiable or classify them again to go another 10 to 25 years. In 1962, the A-12, also known as the SR-71, supposedly took its first flight. In 1964, it was officially released to the public before serving in 1966. Does anyone see the problem here? If the aircraft was top secret, governed by the CIA, requiring a 25-year disclosure agreement, how could they have started it in late 1950s? If it was released in 1964, the project at very least should have been started in 1939 or earlier. That would mean in 1939, they had the tech to develop a plane that could literally fly on the edge of space. In comparison, here's a modern aircraft from that same era. The governments of the world hold immense secrets, and the biggest, most dangerous one is under Yellowstone. I don't have much time, so I'll consolidate what I can. Some time ago, a secret group ran studies on Yellowstone to test its parameters and to see if they could map out the magma pool underneath. In 1945, they started to pick up a rhythmic surge in the magma pool. The scientists were able to pinpoint the cause of the pulse after 1989. They found out the surge increase had something to do with the nuclear explosions on the planet going off. Every time an atom bomb went off, the rhythmic magma surged in the cavity under Yellowstone. This is what my superiors informed me on when I was starting the project we were assigned to. We got our hands on specs for a piece of equipment they needed us to oversee the building and operations of and to make sure it was working properly when in use. We gladly took the project and were able to get it done a few years before our contract time was up. We had built a geological underground scanner that barely fit into the 40,000 square foot hangar. When it was complete, we informed them we reached the specs on distance, which was a scannable distance of 4 cubic miles through solid rock. He asked about the resolution of the final images it could take, and that's when his eyes widened. He calmly gasped, "That's absolutely incredible!" We showed him a test image of under the hangar we were located. We could pull up a 3D holographic image of the 4 cubic mile swath we could scan. It showed everything. It was able to cancel the most common compound makeups by line item, so we could disregard the rock itself and just look at the buried objects. I looked at him and he started to sweat with his eyes still widened. I told him from this location, we couldn't scan Yellowstone with the spec specified. That's when he turned around and made a phone call. Within about 20 minutes, we had over 1,000 new military engineers, mechanists, welders, and more standing in front of our project director and our superiors. He told the new arrivals they were to follow our command and get Stanner to the objective. Fast forward 3 weeks later, and we're now in an underground something. The only way to describe it is an underground military city. Our equipment was placed at the bottom of this huge opening inside of the Earth's crust. It was fridged in there, which at first shocked me. The director said it was cooled since we were about 2 miles from the magma pool under Yellowstone. While conducting the finishing software updates on some of the systems, I noticed some documents in a folder on the table next to me that had a little red sticker. The red sticker was for noting top secret clearance needed to read it. Even the director of the project didn't have top secret clearance. I looked behind me and saw the director, a superior, and a worker talking. Right at that moment, the director looked behind the group while locking eyes with me. He then quickly glances at the folder and turns back around, trying not to be noticed. Was he trying to say something? I didn't know if I should risk life imprisonment for a glance at top secret information. While I was staring at the cover of the folder, a hand touches my shoulder, spooking the shit out of me. I turned and it was one of our superiors. Without a single glance at me and without moving his lips, he said, "You are too valuable to throw away." It's amazing how what seems like a few seconds can change one's perspective for life. He then turned his head and said, "I need to make a 20-second phone call, then I'll be leaving for good." He then turned around and started the call. Was it a code? Did my director and superior both want me to look at this folder? My superior's back turned a few feet from me. If he sees me looking, I'll go to prison for life or just be shot on sight. Right then, the superior started talking on the phone. His first sentence was, "All documents secure, and I'll be leaving here in about 16 seconds. Right then, I knew he was talking to me. I scrambled the folder, but there was only 2 pieces of paper. I saw CO2 ratings for geysers, heat levels, seismic activity, and even a picture of a caveman wall painting. I closed up the folder and stacked it neatly with a few seconds to spare. At that time, he turned around, grabbed the folder, and that was the last I saw of him. I didn't know what to make of the information he had, but it made sense later. We were ready for operation. We started up the harmonic generator and instantly heard a faint, rhythmic surge in the magma cavity. We finished powering the machine on and activating all features. It took about 1 hour to get a 10-minute video recording of a section of the cavity along with all organic matter in the surrounding area. When we brought the image loading system up, we were greeted by a superior, a new one. He stared at me when I first looked at him. He then fixed his gaze at the 3D image rendering in front of him. While the image loaded, there was a bunch of noise in the picture like seashells, bones, fossilized plants, and so on. We began to program the unit to ignore material in the surrounding rock and just focus on the magma cavity. We could only see a small section of the chamber. It is full of magma. While we watched the video, the rhythmic sounds persisted. After watching the video for over 5 minutes while the team still celebrating under their breath that the project worked, I turned to look at my director behind me. He was smiling as if he just discovered the sun. I only wish it could have stayed that way. His eyes began to open. His once wrinkled with happiness face turned to instant emotional suffering. Was I about to be shot for looking at that document? My face grew in horror as I started to turn to the new superior. Was I about to be staring down the barrel of my end, slowly turning to see the little black tunnel and one more flash of light before my inspirations were gone forever? Why did I have to look? I screamed in my head with anger. As my eyes laid on the new superior, I was left in absolute panic. The man who once was the terror of my thoughts was more frightened-looking than me, eyes big enough to swallow his soul. I looked to quickly see what they were looking at. The magma pool looked normal. The 3D picture clip was running perfectly. I turned to look at my director while our superior quickly got on his phone and stormed off. The director collapsed to his knees. With his eyes still gasping for air, he said, "In all the heavens, what are we missing?" I tried to talk to him, but he started crying. I turned toward the picture again, and now I can hear the absolute panic of some of the staff down below. Most people were still celebrating and passing hugs. I calmly stated for everyone to remain cool-headed and to tell us what's going on. At that moment, the doors to the facility broke open and hundreds of military personnel were escorting staff out of the building. At the same time, a group of superiors came in, and now I know why they call them black suits. They gathered my director off the floor and sat us down and started to replay the clip. While the clip ran, they started talking to us. They said we were now not free to leave the facility under any circumstances. I thought this was outrageous. I was arguing with the men stating we have done nothing wrong. Right then I remembered their folder. Was this their way of arresting us for life without a trial? I told them I don't know what's going on, but I just wanted to see my parents again. By this time, I hadn't seen or spoke with them for the duration of the project. They looked confused. They stated that my job just went into core classified. They said it's a level deeper and more detrimental than top secret. I was super angry. I thought they had just kidnapped me to continue working for them indefinitely. They looked even more confused and slightly irritated at this point. They looked at the director, who still can't muster words, and then looked back at me. They looked at the 3D image and asked, "So what do you think about that?" I looked at the image. I couldn't express emotion. As I watched the wall face of the magma chamber, a perfect print of a hand landed on the wall for a brief moment, then glided away in the pool of magma, a hand that could grab a capital city in one swipe. "They call him Pluto in some cultures," the man said. "An ancient titan-like being who sleeps in the depths of hell." My mind still in absolute chaos, while my face showed emotionless. "It seems this Pluto is awakened slightly more with each nuclear blast we detonate. Oh, and that rhythmic surging is believed to be its heartbeat." At that moment, all the documents I saw in the classified folder make sense. The CO2 readings were from subsurface bioactivity, possibly the breath of slumber. The paintings were from early man that worshipped Pluto. So then the men in black said, "You're under lock. This is your only mission. Find out everything possible about this," said Pluto. That was the last day of my normal life. I escaped after 20 years of research, and I can only say these things to you now. Mom, Dad, I love you. The life everyone lives is deeper than what they think. Please, Earth, learn. Evolve fast. We are all on borrowed time.
Subscribe.